Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders of Great Millstone, who will well. Peace and mercy to the Tazadak Akim out there that's laboring this truth with all sincerity. All right, I want to say Shalom. All right, and I'm gonna just resume in the book of Daniel, the 8th chapter. I'm gonna read a couple verses and break it up in parts again. Okay, so we're gonna run through it real quick. All right, this is Daniel chapter 8, verse 8. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and he was strong. The great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven. Okay, and that great horn, is talking about when Alexander the Great passed away. All right, and the he-goat is, talking about the Greeks conquering. All right, and Alexander the Great, he reigned for 12 years. Okay, according to First Maccabees, the first chapter. Okay, he was 20 when he ruled, and he was 32 when he passed away. And once he passed away, all right, four generals rose up. All right, known as the Diadoches. All right, which in the last video I explained, which was Cassander, Seleucus, Ptolemy, and Lacenaeus. Okay, which play a big part, of Hellenizing the world, at that particular time. It reads, and this is verse 9, and out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. Right. And this little horn is talking about Antiochus Epiphanes, who came under, the Seleucus dynasty. Okay, because when you actually go into the lands that Seleucus conquered, he conquered the lands of Syria, okay, and he conquered, the land of Israel, okay, and that's what it's talking about when it says he waxed exceedingly toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant city, that pleasant land, Salakia, which is talking about Israel, okay, and Antiochus Epiphanes, he played a big part, of Hellenizing the Israelites. Okay, but we're going to get into that. It reads, verse 10, and it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. And these stars represents the nation of Israel. And I want to get that. This is a quick one. It's two scriptures. There's one in Revelations, the 12th chapter, and one in Genesis. But I want to get this in Genesis with Joseph. So this is Genesis chapter 37. I'm gonna start from verse 8. And his brethren said to him, shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream and told his brethren and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obedience to me. Right? And those 11 stars is basically talking about the other tribes. Okay? And then he was basically expounding that to his brothers, that, they was going to basically, bow down to him, be under him. And which really goes into, which is a prophecy that he was actually saying to them. He was prophesying, Joseph's, because they basically ended up, when there was a famine in the land, they ended up traveling to Egypt, where Joseph was second command to Pharaoh. Okay? And they was under Joseph. But just basically, showing you that the 11 stars, the stars represents the nation of Israel. Okay? Going back to Daniel, the 8th chapter. This is Daniel chapter 8. I'm going to read it again. Verse 10, and it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the hosts, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And this is when, Antiochus Epiphanes, when he basically was killing, Jake that was practicing, the law, statutes, and commandments, Okay, he was doing pagan sacrifices in the temple. All right, he took some of the treasures in the temple. Okay, you know. So I'm gonna get a quick article as well. Going into it, and I'm gonna get to some scriptures going in First Maccabees. So I'm gonna read it from here. Just a quick one. So I'm gonna read. This is Antiochus Epiphanes, the king of Syria, captured Jerusalem in 167 BC and desecrated the temple by offering the sacrifice of a pig on the altar to Zeus, the abomination of desolation. So this is the first that daily sacrifice goes into the first abomination of desolation. Okay, because we know in the scriptures there's two. There's one that Yahweh Shah, prophesied about, and Daniel. All right, the first one is the Greeks when they basically was doing the pagan sacrifices in the temple, as well as the second abomination of desolation goes into when the Romans in 70 A.D. Overthrew Jerusalem. Okay. So I'm gonna read it again. This is Antiochus. It says Antiochus Epiphanes, the king of Syria, captured Jerusalem in 167 BC and desecrated the temple by offering the sacrifice of a pig on an altar to Zeus, the abomination of desolation, and seeking to prohibit Judaism and Hellenize the Jews. Antiochus forbade their religious practices and commanded the copies of the law be burnt. So this is what he was doing. He was burning all the all the things that was in the temple that that was sacred to the to the Jews, to the Israelites. Okay, and I'm gonna read this brief paragraph. It says he, Antiochus, got possession of the city by treachery, in which time he spared not so much as those that admitted him into it on account of the riches that lay in the temple, but led his covetous inclination, for he saw there was in a great deal of gold and many ornaments that had been dedicated to it of very great value. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I said, he was stealing the treasures. Okay, and in order to plunder its wealth, he ventured to break the league he made. So he left the temple bare and took away the golden candlesticks and the golden altar and the table and the altar, and did not abstain from even the veils, which were made of fine linen and scarlet. He also emptied it of its secret treasures and left nothing at all remaining, and by this means cast the Jews into great limitation, for he forbade them to offer those daily sacrifices which they used to offer the Most High according to the law. And when he had pillaged the whole city, some of the inhabitants he slew, and some he carried captives together with their wives and children, so that the multitude of those captives that were taken alive amounted to about 10,000. He also burned down the finest buildings, and when he overthrown the city walls, he built a citadel in the lower part of the city, for the place was high and overlooked the temple, on which account he fortified it with high walls and towers and put into a garrison of Macedonians. Just going into a brief history, man, of what this damn devil did. All right? And I'm going to get some scriptures backing that up. This is First Maccabees, chapter 1. I'm going to start from verse... I will start from verse 20. It reads, and after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof. Going back into the secular history, And the verse 22, and the table of the shewbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the veil and the crown and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly, because he exterminated a lot of Israelites in this particular time, man. Especially those who weren't, weren't bowing down to his commandments. All right, he was killing those who was, those who kept the law, statutes, commandments. Man, you can read that in the second Maccabees, I believe, with the seven brothers, I believe. Therefore, there was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned. The virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel, these damn devils. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. Then builded they city of David with a great and strong wall and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. Oh, this is heavy, man. This whole chapter is heavy, man. Just going into, what this devil did, man. When it goes into talk about the daily sacrifice, he completely, was proud and was just, hey, man, even to this day, they got the spirit. A lot of these Edomites, got the spirit of Antiochus Epiphanes, man. Okay, and just for a friendly reminder, the Greeks was the one of the beginning of the civilizations for the Edomites. Meaning when they started Salakia. Basically, the Greeks were the first. The Edomites through the Greeks is when they basically rose first in power, man. When Edomites started to get their power is basically when it started with the Greeks. All right, with the Greek Empire. Okay. So it shows you how, the spirit of these damn devils, man, and what they was doing. All right, to the Israelites. Okay. So I'm gonna read it again. Where we at? This is Daniel chapter 8, verse 11. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the hosts, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Just going into, what we read earlier, he Hellenized Jake, okay? A lot of, Israelites, okay, were taken onto those Greek customs, man, all right? Because when the Greeks was in power, man, they spread their Hellenistic ways throughout the world, okay? And there was a lot of Israelites, that was bowing down to the Greeks, man, because they didn't want to be murdered, man, okay? They didn't allow, like I said before, they didn't allow Jakes to practice, their customs. They didn't allow, Israelites to, keep the law, statutes, commandments. Okay? Verse 13, then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, and these, this is talking about what Daniel visualized was two angels speaking to each other. Okay, it reads, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? So they were saying, how long is this, is this going to continue to happen, man? And he said unto me, 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed, And this 2,300 days were literal. All right. All right. And that's when basically Jerusalem was going to, build back the kingdom. Build the temple back up. Okay. And it came to pass when I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. All right. It reads, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Okay? And, this vision was, was talking about, and you got to understand that, this was talking about, when, Daniel was, still in the Babylonian captivity, man. And this has been him basically visualizing the Babylonians, being brought down, by the Medo-Persians and, the Greeks, So, with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm going to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right. Shalom.